What is going on, all of you Nintendo fans out there in the world? I am Mega Am, so thank you for watching this YouTube video. Whether you are a new or returning viewer, I appreciate you stopping by. And today I wanted to talk about something that I've seen online on social media for the last few weeks or so, especially ever since Donkey Kong Bonanza launched and got out there into the world. And that is regarding the Nintendo Switch 2's launch. Where are the games? Right? Mainly the Nintendo games. I mean, people complain about the lack of third party. There are some third parties. There's a lot of indies. A lot of stuff carries over from Switch 1 that they're banking on people experiencing, but is what it is. In particular, there are three kind of big games that people are questioning. Because right now, let's first, before we get into those, let's talk about what we know of so far. Of course, Mario Kart World has been out. Some people love it. Some people fell off. I was kind of one of those people who fell off, but I'll revisit it at some point once new content gets added. I'm sure we don't know when though. Donkey Kong Bonanza, of course, came out a couple weeks ago as of this upload, and absolutely loving that. Great single-player game to pour your time into. But, we also know about Dragon Drive, which is coming out this month as of this upload. I'm a little concerned about Dragon Drive. That one, it's a $20 game, at least in the US, $20 US. And it's it kind of seems like a glorified tech demo. I mean, let me know in the comments below if I should be excited for Dragon Drive. It's very... I don't know, it doesn't feel like a full-fledged effort of a game, which is kind of a bummer to see. I've seen some people compare it to what ARMS was on the Switch 1's launch, but man, ARMS was actually a game. That was way more of a game than Dragon Drive is appearing to be, especially if it's priced as such. I think that should be telling. But only time will tell, we'll find out. I forgot to mention Welcome Tour because I forgot about it, and it shouldn't be $10, but then again, if you compare that to 1-2 Switch on the Switch 1's launch, that game was full price, so... Anyways, but that was also more of a full game, to be fair. Anyways, the only other game that we know of release date for from Nintendo first party is Pokemon Legends ZA, which has already been announced to be coming out on October 16th of this year, which, interesting timing for that one, because I figured that would have been the holiday game, but seems to not be their big holiday game. It's obviously a big game at the end of the year, and that's going to sell very well, I think. But, we don't... it's earlier than expected, and that is a big game for sure. But there's three big games that we really don't know about, and those three are Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, which we have learned a little more about in the Partner Direct recently, and Metro Prime 4 is the big one. Now, we had a Nintendo Partner Direct showcase, whatever you want to call it, literally just not even a week ago as of this upload, right? And a lot of people were really hoping for a first-party focused direct to give them dates on some of those games, maybe figure out what, if we don't know yet, is the big holiday game. We don't know, right? But it ended up being a partner showcase. We haven't had a first-party direct since the April one, where they showcased the Switch 2 and announced all these games. So, that's leaving people feeling deflated online from what I've seen. Is where are these games? When are they coming out? We don't know anything about these. And... Let's talk about... I'm going to say Metro Prime 4 for last because that's the big one. We've got Kirby Air Riders, we've got Hyrule Warriors, we've got Metro Prime 4. Kirby Air Riders, to me, they said... So, supposedly that game's coming out this year. They said 2025 for that game. That game, honestly, to me, and maybe I'm misinterpreting this game, that to me is a game that the fans will play. And I'm Kirby Air Rider hardcore fans, as well as Nintendo hardcore fans, and probably people who like Kirby, they'll be like, oh, I'll pick the game up. I honestly don't know the scope of that game. I mean, obviously it's Sakurai making it, so we shouldn't expect it to be a tiny little throwaway game. But I honestly don't know the scope of that game. That could totally be a game, and honestly, I could see this happening, where Sakurai uploads a 45-minute presentation. Maybe not quite that long, not like Smash length levels. But then again, who knows? This is Sakurai we're talking about. He could just upload one video, either sometime in August or early September, blow the whole game out of the water, show us footage, explain all the mechanics, go into the nitty-gritty detail if you want Sakurai, and then he's like, this is coming out end of September, which unfortunately means Sonic Racing Crossworlds is right there. But I honestly think that game could be coming out sooner than we think. I'm starting to wonder if that is just a game that if they have an empty slot, they want to throw it in somewhere, they totally can, because in theory, it's been a while since Smash Ultimate DLC launched. We know Sakurai was making the YouTube channel as well and doing all those videos, but he also finished those a while ago. He said he pre-recorded so many videos and slowly uploaded them over time. So he's probably been working on Kirby Air Riders for quite a while. And that game could be ready. Like, we have no idea. Nintendo is just waiting for the right moment to drop it. We know they like to do that with a lot of games, sometimes even years in advance. So I could totally see that if they want to just fill a gap of like an empty month, put Kirby Air Riders in there. You know, I could totally see that happening. Like, drop that in September, you know, or it just drops whenever and it's irregardless of timing of anything else. But if they really want to space out games for the hardcore Nintendo audience, maybe that's what they do. I don't know. Let me actually go to the footage here so we can kind of talk about it a little more. But, you know, I think that's a game that doesn't really need too much explaining. Maybe a little bit for the newer generation, but like, there's not a ton to go over, I feel like. You know what I mean? Because I'll be curious to see the audience for this game, besides just the hardcore Nintendo and Kirby Air Ride fans. But, you know, it's cool that it's happening, but I don't think this is a game that they need to necessarily save for a full-on direct. Either A, social media, or B, have Sakurai make a video. He probably wants to make a video separately anyways and upload it to the Nintendo YouTube channel. He probably wants to do that again, like he did with the Smash Ultimate Fighters. So I wouldn't be surprised if that just shows up one day. They announce it, like, tune in tomorrow for Sakurai's 30-minute presentation talking about Kirby Air Riders. And then they announce the release date there, and it's like maybe a few weeks to a month after that. You know, I could totally see that happening. So that is what I'm not concerned about. I do think it is coming out this year. It depends on when. Man, I really hope it's not the same day as Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. They're going to compete. That'd be wild. But anyways, let's move on to Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, because that is another big one that we actually did see footage of in the Nintendo Partner Showcase that we had. That one's a little weird because it's like, it's not really Partner Showcase necessarily, but it's, you know, it's being developed by the third party using the first party Nintendo IP. So that's the whole thing there. Definitely excited for that one for sure. I'm curious to see, especially because they confirmed it's a canon prequel, or not prequel, but it's a canon telling of Zelda's events during the Tears of the Kingdom game. All that stuff. I don't want to say too much in case you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom, but that one is honestly intriguing and exciting. We didn't see a ton more at the presentation, but that, like, we saw a little bit, which was good to see, just for Nintendo to remind you, like, hey, this game's coming out. Now, here's the twist, though. They did not say that game is coming out this year. They said coming this winter. We can actually get to the part here where they say that. They don't say 2025. They say this winter. So to me, right there. So to me, this could mean see, here's my thing. This to me is almost like the game they can use. I guess Kirby Air Riders too, but they could drop that whenever really and won't compete with anything else, right? This game, they could pivot as like, you know, if, depending on other games, if we need to be flexible with the timing, we can. My default thought is that this game is like early 2026, like January or February. However, winter could also be kind of holiday, maybe not late November, but still like early December. That could totally be when they, or even, yeah, late December, right? If you remember in 2020, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity came out. Maybe that was November. I was going to say that was December, but you know what? I think that was November, actually. Maybe it was in October. I don't know. Let me know in the comments below. I didn't look that up ahead of time. But that is a game they could totally... I mean, they could advertise this as the holiday game. It'd be a little interesting, but they totally could. It's Zelda. And if they don't have any other big games they haven't announced, they totally could. But assuming we know all the games, you know, this could be positioned as that. You know, this game is very flexible. They have like a few months of a range as to when to drop this. And... I mean, Koei Tecmo, they've had their hands full. I mean, the Fire Emblem Warriors game, the Three Hopes one was the last one that came out. Was that 2022 or 23? Let me know in the comments below. I want to say it was 22. But even still, like, they've been doing other games. They've done some Dynasty Warriors games. You know what I mean? So that's... And I think... Were they working on Ninja Gaiden? I know Platinum was developing it. But anyways, that publisher or developer has had their hands full. And so... You know, it's not like they haven't had anything to work on, but it's still just interesting to kind of think about how they probably could be flexible. They might be done with this game. We have no idea. You know, we'll see how they want to position this, but I think this is the game that they could change the release date of internally and then announce it later if they wanted to make room. And the main thing I'm talking about in terms of making room for is Metroid Prime 4, because let's jump into that belly of that beast. Now... A little, like, not too long ago as of this upload, take this all with a grain of salt, a YouTuber by the name of Kiwi Talks. YouTubers, hard to know. Some reliable sources, some not. but occasionally known to dabble in insider reporting. According to Kiwi Talks, Prime 4 has been missing development milestones, which implies the development is not going to plan. This could line up with what we've seen. I mean, you think about the fact that, the game was originally being developed supposedly by Bandai Namco, got canned 2 years after announcement. They brought Retro on, but that was back in 2019 that they told us Retro was on board. It's been 6 years since then. So, this game has been in development hell. It could totally still be in a little more development hell. Like, that is not out of the question. Something's going on at Retro that I don't know what's going on. There's some not great stuff. Management or just, like, missing, like they're saying here, missing deadlines. I do think this game could be delayed to 2026. Wouldn't be ideal. I could see this being delayed to like first half 2026, like maybe like April or May. I could see that. And especially if this ends up being true. Now, Nintendo has mentioned, actually just today as of this upload, they had a little blurb that said, hey, we're bringing Metroid Prime 4 demo to the Canadian Fan Expo, which is awesome. So people are going to be able to get hands-on with this. We'll hear more about that gameplay there, I'm sure. And of course, they're going to do this. They reaffirmed that Metroid Prime 4 is coming out in 2025. Even if they knew they were going to delay it, they would totally say that. Any company would until the actual announcement of a delay. So I wouldn't take that as confirmed truth that this game is coming out this year. Like, who is to say? Until they officially announce it or until 2025 is over, we don't know. But I would not be shocked if this game comes out in 2026. The Kiwi Talks here may not, I don't know if they're how reliable they are. They may not be the absolute most reliable, but, it's possible that they have, good speculation, or maybe they do have some information, we don't know. But this game it's in a concerning spot. We don't have a release date for it still. We haven't heard anything about it since, well, I guess today, but since that April Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. And, we still have no idea when it's coming out. That's just kind of the state of it. And given how long it's taken already, what's to say it can't take a little longer? I do think it will come out by 2026. I really do. But especially if they're going to have a demo at Canadian Fan Expo, it will definitely be out by 2026. But maybe they still need some time to brush it off. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, let's say this game gets pushed out to 2026. Then maybe Nintendo says, let's take Hyrule Warriors and push that up into this year. That is kind of my thinking there. Kirby Air Riders, I assume, will still come out this year regardless. But, if Metroid Prime 4 does come out this year, whether it's like September seems way too early, but maybe it's in like November. Maybe this is their holiday game. I imagine they're not going to drop this in October because of Legend ZA, but who knows? It would be very interesting for them to position Metroid Prime as their holiday game, and I'm honestly a little hesitant to say that. But if they did, then Hyrule Warriors comes out next year. Like, honestly, in my mind, I do not think all three of these games are coming out in 2025. I think Kirby Air Riders is for sure. I do think that one is coming out this year because they gave that a hard date. Prime 4 is in flux. They said this year, but we have doubt. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of reasons to not believe that. And then Hyrule Warriors, they gave themselves a bit of a buffer. So I think, depending on when Hyrule Warriors comes out, I know those games don't really overlap fan bases, but I do think if they want to spread out, they want to spread out these games to make it feel like a fully fleshed out launch. Like, honestly, them having one game per month, even if the August game is Dragon Drive and the Switch 2 extra campaign for Kirby Forgotten Land, like, so be it. They can say they had something, right? I honestly do think they want to spread it out more. So we'll see what they do. I honestly don't know. You know what I mean? It's going to be interesting to see how they frame these games. Right now, my gut feeling is, Kirby Air Riders. My gut feeling is Kirby Air Riders in September. I know that seems really early, but I think that is probably the game that is the likeliest to slot in there. Honestly, my gut feeling tells me Prime 4 is not coming out this year. I want to believe it's coming out this year, but my gut feeling is like, no. I think Hyrule Warriors, maybe they'll put in December or something instead. But then again, maybe we don't know the big holiday game. Then again, there could be a Nintendo first-party Direct tomorrow. Probably not. But, I could still see them doing a September Direct. I do think they're going to have a first-party focused Direct sometime in, like, this year. Hopefully September. September would be nice. But who knows? It could be later. You know what I mean? We will have to see. I mean, they probably will have one before Legends ZA comes out and have another trailer in the Direct. I could totally see them doing that. They've done that for past Pokemon games. Like, shortly before it comes out, they have one more trailer in the Direct saying, like, hey, by the way, don't forget this is coming out. Even though Pokemon tends to do their own thing, I could totally see them doing that. Now, yeah, it's gonna come down to a waiting game, right? I do think there is reason to be suspicious of Metroid Prime 4. You know, considering it's been so long as of this, ever since it's been announced, it's been so long. You know, it's been forever. And so I do think we should be suspicious of that. I do not think that 2025 is a solid date. I think that that is potentially going to be delayed. We'll see. But then they have Hyrule Warriors to kind of bump up if they decide to do that. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see what happens. You know, we really will see what happens. But I agree with the consensus of wanting to have more news soon. I'm personally good because I've got my entire backlog of games, and I've got a few new games coming out at the end of this year, like Sonic Racing Crossworlds, like Mina the Hollower, that I'm totally getting and playing. So honestly, I'll be good, but you know, people who only play Nintendo games, who limit themselves to only playing Nintendo games because they are only Nintendo hardcore gamers, yeah, they're going to potentially be upset. We're really going to have to see what Nintendo ends up doing here. You know, there might still be 1 or 2 announcements for games coming out this year that we don't know about yet. You know, it's totally possible. I think we will have a Direct, but you would think we would know about the big holiday game by now. So I do feel like it's going to be either Prime 4 or Hyrule Warriors. Only time will tell. Prime 4 would be a weird one to position as a holiday game. Hyrule Warriors, they've done that before, so there's precedent there. Obviously, that was during 2020, the first big lockdown year for the pandemic, but times were weird then. But then again, times are also weird now. It's a console launch, and clearly, it's not that Nintendo wasn't prepared. It's that they're really spacing things out. So we'll see. You know, we'll have to see what happens. Only time will tell. For now, I'm still enjoying Donkey Kong. Plenty of other games to play. Honestly, it's valid to say that Nintendo is not doing enough first-party games for their launch. Honestly, compared to the Switch 1's launch, the Switch 1 had maybe 1 or 2 other games, which still makes a big deal. But also remember that the Switch 2 launched only a little later, I guess, than the... No, actually, no, a few months later. What am I saying? Than the original Switch. So, less time, but also I think just maybe 1 or 2 less games overall. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But if you're one of those people who only plays Nintendo games, I mean, here's my thing, right? I would check out indie games. That's all I'm going to say. Obviously, you can complain, and that's valid, but don't say there are no games, because there are plenty of games. There are not a lot of Nintendo first-party games. Sure, that's valid, but there's honestly an overwhelming number of games you could play. So I would definitely, you know, try to expand your scope a little bit and check some out. There's plenty of them on the Switch 2 and even the original Switch, you know, that carried over to Switch 2. So I would try to keep an open mind about that if you are kind of upset that there aren't, if you're only playing Nintendo games, you're upset there aren't enough of those games for you. Just try something. Download some demos, check out some really cheap indie games. You know, there's plenty out there that they are cheaper. Especially if you're complaining about the prices of games like Mario Kart, it's like, they're dirt cheap for what they are. It's high quality, cheap indie games out there. So, but yeah, definitely Nintendo. It's interesting. I don't know. We'll see what happens with those big 3 games in particular I really wanted to talk about here, you know, and we'll see what happens. Only time is going to tell, but I do feel like my gut is telling me Prime 4 is going to get pushed to next year. I don't want to believe that. I don't want to will that into existence necessarily, but that is my gut feeling. So, we'll see what happens. But anyways, everybody, that's going to do it for this little discussion video on the current state of Nintendo with the Switch 2. So thank you for watching if you did. Let me know in the comments below, when do you think those 3 games in particular, Kirby Air Riders, Hyrule Warriors, Age of Imprisonment, and Metroid Prime 4, when do you think those are launching? Are they all coming out this year? Are some of them not? Let me know your thoughts on the state of the Switch 2 in the comments below. Otherwise, I will catch you all on the next video or live stream. And until then, keep on Switch 2 gaming.